3:35 a.m., June 5th, 2086. I might have shown that before, actually. I didn't see. In like the very beginning, the actual like year and time. Well, here he is. Here's the Heartbreak Killer. I guess they took off his modded arm, you know? Carlos Flat. Who are you? Know the cop? No, Carlos, I'm not a cop. I'm your public defender, Morgan. I'm here to help you. Did you know you have rights? I do. They said the same thing. They all did. Back there, in here, kept repeating the whole ride over. Or keep repeating the whole ride over? Anyway. They said they were gonna help me. That they knew it was all a mistake. And they said that I killed, acting like they were on my side. They thought that I could have, It's not their job to help you, Carlos. They're the cops, you know? Never say anything to the cops. If you're ever arrested, you know, never say anything to the cops, because all they're trying to get from you is a confession. But anyway. But it is mine, and I'm here now. Seems like he's still in shock. I need information, but I have to be careful with my questioning, or he'll just get more upset. With everything that's happened, I'm sure you're exhausted. It's probably difficult to think, let alone speak. But I'd like you to try and answer a few questions. The police already questioned you, I'm sure, but they were treating you as a suspect, not as a client. Yeah, okay. What do you want to ask? Tell me about yourself. People like to define themselves based on their occupation. Asking him about his work might help him feel normal for a moment or two. I'd like to know a bit more about you first, Carlos. What line of work are you in? I'm with city engineering. Or I was, or I should be. As I thought, the detectives probably think he mapped the optics blackout using data he stole from work. My arm. I got the surgery for the job. And, I'm gonna need more than that. His arm's not equipped at the moment, but based on his shoulder, it must be a pretty utilitarian model. Yeah, he doesn't strike me as the type who's enamored of the aesthetics of modding. The young and the restless and the rich swapping in neon chrome limbs because they like the way it looks, or the way other people start looking at them. No, he's all business. Type to get modded to further their career, or help them get work at all. In which case... My brother wanted to mod. Really? I don't even have a brother. Okay, we're just lying. This is what cops do too, you know? What's the word? It's to get, rapport, you know? To get rapport and, like, try to, like, be friendly with the suspect. That's how you get them talking, you know? Anyway. I don't even have a brother. He had everything planned out. Every promotion he'd earned and every upgrade they could afford him. Then, his 18th birthday present. Test results telling him that he's not a viable candidate. That sucks. I think he was relieved, actually. Like he was glad that such a big decision wasn't his to make anymore. You know? Yeah, I think I do. I was so sure I would just start with a hand, test the water. Never thought about lobbing my whole damn arm off, but the recruiter was enthusiastic. He said because of CD, there was financial aid and resources. Of course, that got shit-canned. So now me and every other mother is up shit creek. Couldn't even let me keep tax credit. The Citizens with Disabilities Act was amended, not repealed. But I doubt he appreciated the distinction at the moment. Okay. I worked the tighter spaces, the high-pressure environments, lots of canopy upkeep. Typical stuff for modders, you know. You work with other prosthetic users? Yeah, my whole crew's got steel in one place or another. We do the jobs that are too important for ads and too dangerous for normal people, I guess. Why aren't you wearing your prosthetic arm right now, Carlos? Yeah, that. Rejection issues, starting last month. Ugh, a lot of restless nights. Rejection issues. Did the therapy not take? Ah yes, you know, despite how cool like having a cyber arm is, and cybernetics in general, in the cyberpunk universe, you know, I mean, it depends, I guess. I know in Deus Ex is kind of like, they kind of explored that a little bit. But like, you know, it's not typically easy to have like cybernetics on your body, you know, in this universe. But the process of adjusting human mind body for unique challenges stress that come with cybernetic body modifications, physical therapy, mental technique instructions, and training. Depending on the individual's viability or lack thereof, medications, even minor viral tuning may be employed to modify the body's immune response. But improvements in medical sterile alloys have greatly reduced the present of reduced populace that requires such adjustment. Basically, you know, not everyone can just get like a cool cyber arm. Rejection issues, did the therapy not take? It's not like that. I wasn't bleeding pus out of my sockets, if that's what you're imagining. Do these rejection issues have anything to do with your scars? Not in the way you're thinking. I'm right-handed. Never gone this long having to use my left for everything. They're shaving scars. The problem started small, trembling, but then spasms. Just oversensitivity, they said. But the problem got bigger. Couldn't let it get that far. You need to be able to trust your own hands when you're on the job site. Drop a cutter at the wrong moment and people could get hurt. So I sat down, made an appointment, turned in my arm to have it looked at, and watched my case get placed at the back of the damn line. Where would you turn it in? Some mass turnaround chop shop with a waiting list like you wouldn't? It doesn't sound like you're a happy customer. Hell no! I found a dozen other clinics with shorter wait times, but as long as I'm renting and not owning, then the manufacturer decides where your arm gets maintenance. That's why I'm sitting here with this expensive-ass stump for a shoulder. I haven't been able to work in weeks. Boss was generous enough to say my position might still be there when I got two hands again. You couldn't buy a rent or replacement yourself just in the meantime? I'm an employee of the city. If they got exclusivity contracts with little old Hindi, all locked up, white knuckle tight. Hindi. It's a cute name for one of the biggest corporations on the planet. Hindi? How Industries? Oh, okay. They make all the technology. And we're hiring. We're seeking motivated and passionate archivists, programmers, salespeople, and college graduates with degrees in digital archaeology, cybernetic anatomy, and more. But you gotta have 10 years of experience, though. And your starting salary is $2, you know, an hour. That detective Reyes did say he was registered with one of their habilis models. If I took one step on site with an uninsured limb, forget the fines, I lose the down payment and my arm. I never work in the city again. You mentioned discomfort. Are you in pain now? It comes and goes. The phantoms come pretty fast when I don't have anything. It's the phantom pain. I can still feel it. Phantom pain. The pain to discover that the brain experience comes from the empty part of the body. I mean, this is just a thing in real life, you know. This is just like people who have lost limbs, you know, and they have to use prosthetics or whatever. Or sometimes when they're not even wearing prosthetics, they have this like weird thing where they can still feel their lost limb, you know, probably because of the way the brain works. Therapy. Conditioning, yeah, I mean, this is a thing in real life. This is just, you know. Do you mean phantom visions? Oh, phantom visions. Phantom visions are caused by faulty installation on cybernetic eye mods, resulting in periodic electrical discharge across the retina. Okay. Not just like phantom pain, there's also phantom visions if you have a cybernetic eye. Anyway, phantom anything. Arm-shaped attached to me. Oh yeah, when they don't have. But then they give you something to, well, wear in the meantime. Something in the clinics lend out for cases like this. That thing they gave me is a dead weight. 3-jointed piece of shit. Sorry, it's a very shitty feeling having something so cheap take the place of your limb. Having a part of your body that they cut corners on. It fits, it's compatible, technically. I can plug it in and feel on bounce again. But the fingers don't even bend, and the quick twitch motors are way off. Like walking around with your arm asleep. Or dead. Hardly much better than just going without. Were you wearing it when you were arrested? No, I wasn't. I'm not even sure where it is right now. but the police must have grabbed it as evidence, right? Everything he's saying makes sense so far. He only had the victim's blood on his left arm because at the time in question he didn't have a right. You and the victim were romantically involved. How long did you know each other? I've known her since college. We shared a few classes, friend circles. We got along real easy. Eventually, we just got together at some point. Guess I never actually asked her formal like. Pretty lame, huh? Diane, she was in genetics, agriculture specifically. It'll be a while before he gets used to using the past tense. He just got done with her postgrad studies this year. Got hired right off the gate. Practically headhunted, you believe that? Practically headhunted. Of course she was. Any company'd be lucky to have her. It was a real-ass job. Paid real-ass money, too. So her career was starting to pan out, right as he fell into a slump. As she adjusted well to her new job, did she ever mention arguments or disputes with coworkers or friends? No, nothing that would... No one I know could do this to her. There's nothing she could have done that would deserve what happened to her. It was a long shot, hoping for a disgruntled character from her past to shift blame onto. With no other suspects, I can't just reshuffle the detective's suspicions. I'll have to disprove their argument entirely. Oh, thanks, Carlos. That was very helpful. It was? Now I'd like you to try and tell me whatever you can about what happened with Diane. Start at the beginning, and take your time. The details are important. Alright, Miss Morgan. I'll try. When you're ready. We were arguing. We have been arguing a lot lately. Arguing about stupid stuff. I haven't been making money. I haven't been providing. I haven't been pulling my weight. I was mad at myself and jealous of her. Jealous of her promotions and shit. Jealous of her goddamn money. The police say you were arguing around 8 o'clock p.m. 8? Yeah, must have been when we started. We got into it and I said a lot of things I shouldn't have. I said one thing that I really shouldn't have. I knew I crossed the line, so I left. You left? Walked out the front door. Thought some fresh air might help me clear my head. Help me figure out what to say to make it up to her. Of course, the air wasn't fresh, just humid, thick like mud. And while I was pissing away at the time, Diane was... Did you bring your phone with you or any other device? I'm pretty sure that I didn't. I just walked around the block. Wasn't really paying attention, you know. With optics down, traffic and street level cams won't help him. That leaves... Did you go through a checkpoint? Or talk to anyone with modded eyes? Did you buy anything? Cash or credit? No, not even a vending machine. Not even a damn vending machine, huh? Forget what I said about the rain earlier. This guy's as unlucky as they come. Just wanted quiet at the time. Wanted to wallow in it. Sorry if I don't have all the details quite right, my head is. But if you need to be sure, the cams probably caught my exact route, so... What? What is it? Carlos, you don't show up on a single cam at the time of the murder. What? How the hell? No, see, I was on the street, so optic... There's a span of time where optics was down last night. Apparently from 8:17 to 9:21. In other words, there's no proof that you're out at the time Diane was killed. That's impossible. You have to believe me. I didn't do this, I couldn't... Carlos, I'm the one person you don't have to try and convince. After all, I'm your lawyer. So let's just keep going and see what we've got to work with. Right. You said you left to clear your head. So what made you come back? Because I heard a noise. A loud noise. I didn't know what it was, but it was loud. It scared me. It came from the direction of our apartment. You two live on the first floor, is that right? Yeah, first floor. Street-facing entrance. We were proud of that when we first moved in. Like it was some kind of big deal. I was walking back at first, but at some point, I must have started running. Because when I got back, I was so out of breath. When I saw that the front door was open, something just dropped in my chest and my lungs wouldn't... I came in. I saw on the ground. From the hallway. I saw the blood. But I didn't realize what had just happened. You didn't understand what you were seeing. The lights were off. The whole room was a mess. I thought we'd been robbed, or she had fallen, or... There was a glass on the floor, furniture knocked aside. And she was... I called her name. She didn't move. I checked her pulse, and she was still warm. Her blood was warm. And I saw that gun. It looked heavy. I thought it'd be fake because I didn't want it to be real. Is that why you picked it up? What? Pick it up? I didn't touch the thing. I didn't shoot her, damn it! Doing what I do, you hear a lot of lies. White lies, blatant lies, hasty lies. Bad lies, especially. For me, it's always been easy to spot a lie. But it can be hard to know what to do about it. She's nervous and defensive. Better handle this with a delicate touch. You did touch the gun, Carlos. That's just a fact that I know because of... Can I, save the game? None of it matters, but... Save. Okay, there you go. Anyway. I mean, we know for sure, because I remember the detectives did mention that they found his fingerprints on it, right? Where it was found? I don't know about that, but the prints, I think. I know because your fingerprints are on the gun. What? But I didn't do this. I wasn't thinking. I was just... All I'm saying is that you picked it up. That's all. Would you believe me if I said I didn't realize it was a gun? That explains how his fingerprints got on the murder weapon, but not in a way that would satisfy the police. Still, if all Carlos did was hold the gun... It's so stupid. I know what a gun looks like. But laying there in my own home, right in front of... You were in shock, Carlos. You still are. The police came in some time after that. I don't remember much of what they said. Things started moving fast, and it seemed like the rest of my night went as you can imagine. Carlos, you admit to having a verbal argument with Diane, but you said you were surprised to see the room trashed when you got back. To clarify, are you saying that you two never had a physical fight? What? Physical? We never fought. We never fought like that. Did the police say that we did? They assume as much. Which means they also assumed the room was disheveled well before the shooting occurred. Concerning what Carlos has told me, what else do they assume? What is it? Take a look at this diagram for me. It roughly describes the state of the room as the police found it. Right, it's just a diagram extrapolated from data, Carlos. There's no great details for you to relive. Okay, let me see it. Think about how it looked when you left. Try and focus on what's out of place. I don't remember exactly where everything was, but I mean that clock in the corner was on the wall, obviously. That chair must have been knocked over. Her mirror got smashed at some point. The bed cushions are all... Sorry, was that... did that help? That was great, Carlos. What? What's the matter? Now I need to ask you about the letter that was found on your desk. Letter? What are you talking about? You're saying that this isn't your handwriting. This isn't... I mean, this is just what I wrote to myself. Pardon? Look, when we fight, I lose my temper. I say things I don't mean. So this morning, I mean yesterday morning, I tried writing things down to give myself a script to stick to help me apologize to her instead of just fighting with her. You say here that you hurt them. That's... I broke her fidget tubbies. What? Or what? Exactly. Her what? Her fidget tubbies. They're these collectible ceramic character things. They're supposed to be like tactile or some shit, like a paperweight or a conversation starter. A conversation starter? She loves those little things. Now he's like, he has PTSD from fidget tubbies, I feel like. Anyway, they're not worth a damn. You can buy them in a flea market or garage sale, but they meant a lot to her. And I broke them. goddamn piece of shit replacement arm. I hardly know where I'm swinging it half the time. Okay. He says he broke her frigid duckies, whatever, with his replacement arm. Does that change anything? Not immediately. I do remember, though, it was mentioned. Something about, like, some debris was found, right? There's not enough detail in the note for me to prove what his intent was when he sat down to write it. Although by the same stroke, the police can't prove that the letter was meant to be his confession of the Heartbreak killings. Alright, Carlos. Thanks for answering my questions. Now I'm going to call the police back in here. I'm going to get this cleared up for you. What? That's it? That's it. Okay. Although before that, I do have to ask, what do you know about the Heartbreak killer? HK? That shooter who was trending for a while? I mean, as much as anyone, I guess. I think everybody's on edge. A guy like that out there. He shoots people through the heart, right? The police insisted on keeping the victims' names and appearances away from major media sources. So unless he was already digging into the murders, Carlos wouldn't know about their resemblance to his girlfriend. Wait, you don't think that Diane was... I mean, she was shot in the chest, but that's just not possible. If he's this slow on the uptake, it's gonna be a real shock if those officers walk in here and accuse him of being a serial killer. I'll just have to squash that theory as quickly as possible. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm rubbing my hands together. 4:10 a.m. Really engrossing so far, by the way. It's really cool. I like it. Let's see. And I'm gonna save that just in case. I'm gonna save the game again. I don't know if it matters. But anyway, thank you for all your assistance this morning, Detective. Yeah, sure. Always happy to be of service. So is he ready to confess? Because I already woke up the DA. Already, she must be new. The district attorneys have final say whether or not a case is brought to trial. Fitting, since they're the ones who end up having to actually prove the damn thing. Most of them prefer simple guilty pleas over long, protracted trials, and they all dislike having their time wasted. Unfortunately then, you have to call them back, because my client is not guilty. And frankly, I'm not even sure you have enough to hold him here. Really? You got a weird sense of humor, counselor. It's about 32 hours too early in the day for me to appreciate it. I'm very serious when it comes to defending a man's innocence, Detective. Counselor, we have your client's written confession. Hey, that was... Carlo, just let me do the talking. What you so ambitiously referred to as a confession is in fact just a simple apology to his girlfriend. For what, killing her? For an unrelated matter. That's not gonna cut it. Only thing the confessions is missing is a signature. So if you want to claim our key evidence was just some kind of apology, you need to tell us exactly what it's an apology for. And you need to show us some real proof. Proof? It's on the files they gave me. Goes to show just how excited they were to get their hands on Heartbreak. Their missing details are right under their noses. I'm not in the habit of making unfounded claims, detectives. If you want evidence, you just need to take a look at... okay, diagram... I'm gonna say... I don't know. I'm gonna say the note because... I'm not sure, because the gun is like... I don't know how that's related. Diagram? Like maybe where the note was placed? I kind of wish there was a court record I could like look at, you know? I know in Ace Attorney, you know, you can like pull up the court records, so you look at the evidence. Just to remind me of what the details are, but... I'm gonna say the note. I'm gonna say the note because he's right-handed and he doesn't have his arm, so like how can he write a note? Or... But no, he was the one that wrote... No, he wrote the note, right? So he was the one that wrote the note. It looks really bad because he's writing with his left arm and everything, so that's why that's the case. But like, how do we prove that the note was meant to be an apology instead of a confession? Or was it like... I don't know. I feel like this is supposed to be easy, but like, I don't know. Like, he wrote it yesterday morning, and that was like, I think before the crime took place, right? Because the crime took place around 8 to 9. when there was a blackout in optics. He wrote the note in the morning, right? So like he wrote it way before the actual crime. Unless it could also be confession. It could also be confession because like he wrote the note before he did the crime, so that could be a confession before the. I don't know. I'm gonna say the note. That's not right. Only he knows what he was referring to when he wrote it. But I can prove that he has something to apologize for. What do you mean? Oh, okay. Okay. The question is, okay, now I get it. All right. Sometimes it's hard to understand what the game wants you, like what the writer wants you to like figure out. You know, I think what they're asking for, and it's a simple question, is like what exactly was he apologizing for? You know, I was thinking like he was just apologizing for the fight, right? But no, he was apologizing specifically for breaking his girlfriend's fidget tubbies or whatever it is, right? That's what it was. Okay. So, that's what I kind of wish too. I mean, it's not, I don't know. I don't think the game needs it, but like for me, because I'm stupid, you know, I wish there was like a little thing that says like the main question you're trying to answer. A little text box that says like, you know, what are you trying to figure out? But I guess, you know, if you pick the wrong one, then it's kind of like, it doesn't matter. If you pick the wrong one, she gives a hint anyway. Anyway, all right. In that case, we need to look at the diagram of the scene, because I remember there was a mention of debris. All right. Allow me to show you. Your diagram of the room, this is straight from the ARCS file, right? ARCS file, what's that? ARCS file? Augmented reality crime scene. Okay, so it's basically, yeah. Basically, it's just technology to like recreate the crime scene, basically, you know, better than photographs, in a way. Straight from the ARCS file. Pure non-GMO augmented reality crime scene data. Yeah. What's non-GMO? Not much these days. Non-GMO. Not like NGO? Anyway. Notice anything out of place in your diagram? Sure, there's plenty of busted shit lying around all over the place. It's the scene of the murder. Plenty of busted shit for sure. But I was referring to the unidentified ceramic debris found on the western side of the room. The hell is that? Isn't it just from the vase that got thrown? Actually, that's not possible. Oh? It's not possible because that vase... it wasn't damaged. I remember that. It's very durable because it was cheap. It's not possible for that debris to come from the vase, because that vase isn't even scratched. Seriously? But the lady at the garage sale told me it was so old and delicate. Damn it, the one time I tried the thrift shop without Diane. So what? What does it even matter? If the vase is pristine. Then what the hell is that debris, you might ask? That debris is what my client had to apologize for. After all, it's all that remains of the victim's collection of fidget tubbies. Fidget tubbies. Mr. Flab broke these ceramic figures, not during any struggle or argument with the victim, but by accident, in the morning. Oh shit. Counselor, even though they're a bit out of the way, we have no proof that those weren't knocked over during the murder. I may not have the proof, but I believe you do. Pardon? You took in his replacement arm as evidence, didn't you? Out of an abundance of precaution. Yeah, I think I saw it get bagged. What's it matter? My client smashed those fidget toddlers, fidget tubbies, with the same prosthetic arm you took into custody. So your highly qualified crime scene techs would have found plenty of ceramic residue on that arm. I'm guessing they even flagged it as notable, for convenience. Maybe so. More than maybe, I think. And since any of the arresting officers can attest that Carlos wasn't wearing a prosthetic arm when he was found, we can all come to the same reasonable conclusion that he broke those fudgy... that he broke said items early in the day, when he said you would have had enough time to sit down and write an apology about it. Oh, you've got to be joking. Look at how scrawled, how panicked the writing on the note is. You trying to say he got that upset over a fidget tubby collection that he hasn't even been graded? Putting aside the text of Ray's surprising depth of knowledge about tacky collectibles. I think I think she's also a collector. Anyway, there's a good explanation for that too. And what's that, counselor? It's only natural that his penmanship looks the way it does because he loves Fiji babies. He was in shock. No, he was right-handed. Because Carlos is right-handed. It must have been the same for you and your eye. Consults typically recommend replacing the dominant one. So he wrote that note with his left hand. I tend to think better writing than typing. I need to get used to using my left anyway. Fine. So he's not feeling guilty enough to write a confession. Congratulations, you established your client's remorseless. We still have his fingerprints on the murder weapon and her blood on his jacket in hand. That's... My client freely admits to holding the gun. He picked it up in confusion when he found the body. Which was not smart. But it wasn't illegal either. Oh please, he had her blood all over his clothes. Yes, he did. Do you have those clothes on hand, by the way? The lab finished with them a while ago. What are you getting at? It'll be easier just to show you. Would you mind getting them for me? You know what? Sure, I'd be happy to. I just love to see this. What are you doing? Relax, Carlos. I'm pretty sure that's impossible. You're innocent. And that means that having more evidence will always help you, not hurt you. That's an interesting way to think about it. I'm just thinking about like false evidence, you know? Falsely, what's it called? Like, I can't remember what it's called, but you know, like fake evidence. That could hurt you. But anyway. Really? Really? Not really. Prison's full of innocent people. People with bad luck or bad lawyers. For better or for worse, you can't always count on the truth to come out easy. More often than not, it takes coaxing. Oh, okay. You know, she lies a lot. This lawyer of ours, you know, he tends to lie a lot, I feel like. Here. One bloodstained jacket fresh from the lab. So what's your angle? You gonna say it's not his? Is he actually a size XXS or something? Are you? I'm not. He's identified it as his jacket. But don't you know something odd, detectives? I notice your love of rhetorical questions. Get to the point. The murder weapon is an old-world revolver. That means no tags, no magnetic slugs, no lethal TAS projectiles. If Carlos really had shot the victim with a gun like that, then there would be the evidence indicating that on the jacket that he was wearing at the time. To prove it, I have to call the detective's attention to what they can. See, feel, or smell. I'm not sure what she's getting at. Is she getting at like gunpowder maybe? I'm just thinking about like gunpowder. It's either gunpowder or like because I was also thinking like it's also kind of like weird. Like usually when you shoot someone, usually you shoot them at a distance, right? So like if you shoot them at a distance, why would you get blood on yourself, right? Like typically, but I don't know. But I guess that might not prove it because it could be like he shot her, you know, assumedly the heartbreak killer could have shot her from a distance and then went up to her and touched her blood for some reason, you know, makes no sense, but that's the detective's theory maybe. Let's say smell maybe. My point is very simple. I would only ask you for one thing. Smell this. Huh? No really, go ahead. Tell me what you smell. I smell bullshit. Drying blood? Correct. And you don't smell anything else. Right, that's... Hey, the hell is she on about? It's nothing that complicated. It's just that you don't smell any gunpowder. Gunpowder? What do you mean? Don't blame yourself for not noticing. This is before your time. You can't be more than a few years older than me. But not before your partners, it seems. Gunpowder's weak by modern standards, but it's still volatile stuff, hard to store, prone to misfiring. And when it goes bang, it leaves behind an awful lot of evidence. What the hell is he talking about, London? Modern firearms like ours use EM bursts, magnetism, even air pressure or sound waves. They've got more accuracy, more firepower, less recoil, less noise. And they don't leave behind any residue. You thought this HK was clever because his gun didn't leave any digital traces behind. But a revolver like this would leave gunpowder on the clothes and skin of whoever fired it for days. If you don't trust your noses, you can check the lab reports. I think if they found any gunpowder on the client or his clothes, they have taken the time to highlight it. So what? That just means he washed off after shooting her, or he changed clothes. That's not impossible, but it'd be pretty pointless. Huh? His jacket and his left hand were bloody when you first found him. Would he really go through all the effort to get rid of something so subtle as gunpowder residue, just to get the victim's blood all over himself afterwards? They're faltering now. The letter wasn't of much consequence, but the gun is all they really had to name Carlos as the Heartbreak Killer. If it looks like he never actually fired the gun. In light of these details, I'd like to ask you that you reconsider the charges Mr. Flat is facing, as soon as possible. Whoa. A message. Wait, did they seriously? You're good at your job. Even had me going there. For a second. Uh-oh. Where is this coming from? Unfortunately for him, though, the net scrubbing effort just paid off. Because they just found an image of the shooter at the very moment they pulled the trigger. And they're sending it over right now. A photo of the shooter. I thought there was an optics blackout. Seems like this isn't from optics. Or this isn't from optics. You mean that some random person? Looks like at the time of the shooting, a neighbor was on their phone. Probably venting about how crazy the couple across the way was acting. But since their phone was on, its camera was on. And they had their window blinds open. All it takes is one single camera to catch a criminal in the act. It could be from a car, a computer, a phone, an ad. Or even a modded eye. It doesn't even necessarily have to be powered on. The cops must have pinged thousands of devices in the surrounding area, digging for footage. And now here it is. And would you look at that? A shooter with no right arm. Well, okay. The quality is lacking. And yet, there it is. They managed to find a quarter needle of evidence in a whole city block of haystacks. What are the goddamn chances? No, with the scale their tools operate on, I guess the chances are in their favor. Alright, this isn't good, but it's a far cry from the worst case scenario I envisioned. No right arm? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be a sleeve, I guess? I don't know. Because I'm thinking there's an arm, but like maybe it's supposed to be like a floppy sleeve, you know? Maybe it really is my lucky day. You can't see the shooter's face, or even make out their clothes. Ultra low resolution, zoomed in, blurred, color shifted, and so compressed it looks like it's from another century. There are tools that can enhance this image anymore, and you can count the pixels on two hands. That's funny, yeah. There is always a trope. I forget what the show, the first show that did it, but it's like they always try to enhance it. Somehow they can make out details that don't actually exist. That's not how it works. You can't honestly claim that you can identify my client from this image. There's no way you could convince the court. Yeah, you're probably right. We couldn't, but I think I know a DA that could. Either way, it doesn't seem like your client's leaving this police station anytime soon. That photo. Just what the hell is happening? I think I know a DA that could. Don't be so modest, old man. We have photo evidence of a left-handed shooter standing in the hallway at the same time the whole neighborhood heard a gunshot. And who do we know that had their left hand fingerprints all over the M454? You're referring to my client. You think? We've established he wasn't wearing his modded arm at all tonight, so of course he must have shot with his left. And we've also established his left hand is shaky, and still has no gunpowder anywhere. Forensics will never be perfect, counselor. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes, you take a walk through the rain, and when you finally get where you're going, you you somehow end up dry. But that doesn't mean it didn't rain. All of which is to say, before judge or jury, photographic evidence outweighs a failed sniff test. Carlos is innocent. I know he is. That means this photo doesn't show what it appears to show. So then, at a loss for words? Never. I'm just confused about one thing. Where was this photo taken from exactly? Exactly. Positional data is usually only accurate to the nearest public router. If we de-anon the phone's owner and ask them where, are they anon? They're like, anonymous. when I see this word, when I see anon, I just think of 4chan. Well, whenever I see the word though, I always think of anon, because that sounds like a name. It's usually referring to a person, anonymous person. But when I say anon, it sounds like a name, so it's like, I don't know, it's like a name for an anonymous person. So I always, in my head, say as anon. But I guess it's supposed to be anon. Anonymous. Anyway, if we de-anon the phone's owner and ask them where, why bother with all that? Ballistics and common sense tells us the perp shot from the doorway. We're looking straight at the shooter, so it's pretty obvious that this was taken from across the north window. North window. The neighbor must live on the other side of the street. Is that right? Was this photo taken from the north? No. Sore wa chigau. Yeah, sore wa chigau. That's not right. Actually, I think you're mistaken. Well then, please enlighten us, counselor. The idea that it was taken from the north doesn't line up with what we see in your photo. Your prized photo evidence is self-contradictory. How's that exactly? Just take one good look at the background, the shooter, the gun. I would say the background. There's a clock on the wall in this photo, analog style. It reads 9 o'clock. 9 p.m., the time of the shooting. The hell's contradictory about that? Well, nothing. There's nothing odd about the time the clock reads, but do you remember there being a clock in the room? What? Actually, I don't recall there being a clock. Well, that makes sense. You wouldn't recall seeing a clock, because when the police secured the scene, the clock had already been knocked on the floor. From off the eastern wall. Hold on a minute. There may have been a clock on the ground somewhere, sure. But this photo was taken immediately before the gunshot was heard. Discrepancy found time-stamped audio to corroborate. So the struggle between the killer and the victim should have already taken place. And the clock should have already been knocked off the wall. Seems that way, doesn't it? The hell are you saying now? I'm in position to finish this, but I won't be able to end things without mentioning the other murders. Looks like I can't avoid dropping HK's name in front of Flat any longer. Oh well, bandage ripping time. Tell me, detectives, were there any signs of a struggle at the other crime scene? Other crime scenes? Carlos, please, just trust me. No, nothing like that. Those attacks would have been over in a matter of seconds. So what did you think when you saw the mess of a crime scene in Diane's apartment? That this was personal, and things had gotten complicated. Shit happens. Shit does happen, detective. But in this case, it seems there's been a general misconception about the order in which shit happened. Huh? Fortunately, we can clear all this up just by paying close attention to your crime scene diagram. There is in fact one particular detail that tells us the order of events quite plainly. One particular detail that shows exactly how the cards fell. Because okay, according to Carlos in his testimony, he's saying that when he left, during the verbal argument, and then he left, the room wasn't really nothing was destroyed or anything. The only thing that was kind of destroyed, and it was in the morning, was the fidget tubbies or whatever. But other than that, everything else was as normal. It was only after he returned that the room was a mess. Supposedly the killer did that? I don't know, I'm not sure. There wasn't a struggle apparently, so it was weird. I don't know, I'm confused. I'm not sure what I'm trying to prove. Am I trying to prove the clock was on the wall before or after the crime scene? Because if it was before the crime scene, or before the crime took place rather, then it would contradict with the photo. But it was after the crime scene, or I keep saying crime scene, but it was after the crime, then it would make sense. I'm gonna say the glass fragments, because maybe the way the glass was broken in the crime scene is suspicious for some reason. I don't know. I'm taking a guess, which I don't like. I don't like to guess. I like to actually figure it out. I'm gonna say this. In the ARC's file, there are flat pieces of broken glass near the body. Sure. Okay, let me see, actually. This is why I want the court record, so I can actually see. There's the clock. North. That's the north side. The clock was on the eastern side, so it was like on the... Okay, it's kind of... because it's isometric, it's kind of hard to tell. But the clock was on the... Yeah, on the wall that is like transparent. If you think about it, it's like on this side. That's north. So the photo was taken from this direction. And the killer went, like, walked this way, from the doorway, and shot her, the victim. There's the mirror there. Huh. Okay. Wait, if the mirror is there, then wouldn't it be blocking the window? Yeah, okay, maybe that's the thing. Okay, I didn't notice that, to be honest. See, this is why I wish I had the, again, the court record. Or, like, evidence, whatever, so I can look at it visually. Maybe. I'm assuming that's what Morgan is trying to say. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'm assuming it's because the mirror is supposed to be blocking the window in the first place. So therefore, how can how could the photo have been, like, how did they take the photo, or how did the photo exist if the mirror was already on the wall? So it has to have been, or I don't know. Anyway, Morgan will explain this a lot better. Anyway, sure. And we can all reason that the glass was shattered when the rest of the room was ransacked. What's the big deal? The big deal is that the ARC shows the glass on top of the victim's body, not under it. Okay. That's also what I was thinking as well. Something about like how glass shards are, the way glass shards are, like, have been tampered with or something. I don't know. Anyway, so that's that's the argument. I was completely off base. So the fact is that the glass shards is on the body instead of under it. If the glass shards was under the body, it would have proved that it would have been broken before she got shot. But it was on the body, then it must have been tampered with after she got shot. In other words, the glass was broken after she had already fallen to the ground, dead. Which means the room must have been trashed after the shooting, and not during a prior struggle. It's kind of hard to tell, though. I can really tell from just the diagram, because we don't actually see the real body. I was assuming that was just an outline, kind of like the crime scene outline of like a dead body. Must have been trashed after the shooting and not during a prior struggle. And so the clock still would have been on the east wall when the crime occurred. Why would the killer trash the room after he shot Diane? A good question. And one that the detectives will have to find the answer to after they release you. What are you talking about? It's odd that the room was trashed after the murder, but so what? We still have a photo, and I'm glad you do. You're glad. Proving that it wasn't my client who pulled the trigger is difficult, and maybe more importantly for all of us, time-consuming. Thanks to your photo, I can instead prove that it couldn't have been my client who pulled the trigger, because the man in the photo can't possibly be Carlos. What do you mean by that, counselor? Here comes the coup de grace. I have to take care of not to wound their pride too badly. Even if doing what I do makes hostility a given, I still prefer not to have any cops walking around actively hitting my guts. Carlos clarified that the clock we see in this photo was hung on the eastern wall, so this photo must have been taken from across the alley, not the street. That means we're seeing this view through the western wall. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Yeah, because it had to be taken from this way, which also doesn't kind of weird because then, wait, that's the door, right? It's kind of weird. I don't know. Or is that I'm getting a little bit confused because this is north, right? It says north. North is this way, but then this is west. So like, I don't know, it's weird. That means we're seeing this room from the western window. But if we're seeing a photo taken through the western window, we have to ask, what exactly are we looking at? Seriously? We're looking at a left-handed shooter in the bright hallway. There's only one hallway the apartment detective raised, and it runs from north to south. Yeah, that's what I was wondering as well in the back of my head. It was like, I thought I was getting it wrong, but like, why is there a photo from that direction if there's no door, in the diagram that is like in that direction on the eastern wall where the clock was? And so now you're going back to the north window. This is just bullshit. There's just one last bit of evidence that you failed to take into consideration. You've been thinking about how this crime based on how the room looked afterwards. Well, we've just now established the room was pristine when the shooting occurred. That means that we're seeing in this photo isn't the shooter. What we're seeing in this photo is... Oh, I get it. Wait, no, maybe I don't get it. Wait. No, I do get it. No way, I don't get it. No, I do get it. No, I don't get it. Wait, how? My brain hurts. So, like, this isn't a door, it seems like in that case. Third individual. And that could be true too. A victim. The victim? I mean, the victim wouldn't be holding a gun, right? Okay, well, I think it's a reflection. I think that's what it is. It's a reflection on the eastern wall, right? It's the shooter's reflection. His reflection? The bits of glass that ended up on top of Diane's body. They were from a standing mirror. A mirror that at the time of the shooting stood across the room from the western window. But then that would mean, at that angle, from that viewpoint, it would reflect the hallway. So we're not seeing a shooter with a gun in their left hand. We're seeing a killer take aim with their right arm. That's kind of hard to wrap my brain around, to be honest. I'm trying to think of where the window was, or where the mirror was in regards to the window. It was, I guess, was it also on the eastern wall? That was kind of hard to tell. Anyway. And as we all know, my client hasn't had a working right arm in a number of weeks. The fingers on his replacement don't even have joints. So I meant what I said about your photo. I'm glad that it was recovered, because it just proved that my client couldn't possibly have committed this crime. He could have had a backup. He could have stolen another prosthetic. Stubborn, this one. A little stubbornness can be charming, but this kind of desperation is ugly. It's getting late. Time to put my foot down a bit. Even the bare bones prosthetic off the black market needs to be attuned to the individual's nervous system. You have to bring it to a clinic, which would have left a record on his shoulder OS, a record you won't find. And he still have to somehow have gotten rid of it before the police arrived. SOP at the scene of a violent crime calls for full spectrum scanning of the entire building at 100 meters around at minimum. So where did he manage to hide an entire cybernetic arm from your drones in the time between this shooting and his arrest? Show me your hand, Flat. You're uncuffing me. In light of evidence, we have no reason to hold you. Shit, now I gotta call the DA and they're gonna be pissed. Listen, kid. You... Oh, never mind. Lost my train of thought. Your attorney is a real tiger, and she just fought like hell for you. Make sure you thank her properly. Yeah. That's kind of you to say, detective. Sure. Just don't start expecting that kindness from the rest of my peers, counselor. What happens now? Well, I have to speak with the DA about the dismissal. And there's still some paperwork we need to deal with, but basically you're free to go. But what am I supposed to do? The investigations will continue. The authorities may contact you for further interviews, or they may not. When they're satisfied with their examination of the body, she'll be handed over to the next of kin, and you can make your preparations for her funeral. No, I meant, Diane being gone is one thing, but a serial killer, it's like dying of the flu. It doesn't happen anymore. People die of the flu all the time, but I know what you mean. I can't make sense of it. So what am I supposed to do? Hell if I know. There are some phone numbers I could give you. Services, professionals, doctors. No, you've done more than enough for me. When you got here, I was too tired to even defend myself, to try and convince them that I didn't. You saved me. Thank you. You're welcome, Carlos. It's my job to... No. Thank you. Thank you for not asking. For not asking if I killed her. I didn't need to ask, Carlos. I knew you were innocent from the start. Of course he was. After all... Wait a minute, what? The blood's always a little different. Heart's always in the same place, easy to find. The blood's always a little different. It stains the chest like a flower unfurling its petals towards some unknown sun. A perfectly unique bloom, only one for each of us. A Rorschach test with a singular universal meaning, vitality at its climax, bursting forth into a red fractal consisting solely of an infinite the end. The comical thud of a body hitting the floor has its own kind of lowbrow appeal. 8:59 p.m., June 4th, 2086. Wait, what? What's going on? Cool touchscreen, by the way. It shows like the temperature and the calendar and the clock. I guess that was like, I thought that was like a real clock, I guess. That was a touchscreen in the diagram anyway. There's the mirror. Anyway. That was bullet number 6 of 6. The gun's empty. It's useless to me now, may as well leave it. Feels like a waste, but whatever. Finding the ammo for one of these is almost enough of a hassle to outweigh the advantages. I could sell an untagged gun for a fair bit of cash, but even cash leaves a trail. More headaches to deal with. She didn't say anything when I entered. Moping around the dark in here, she must have only been able to see my silhouette. Did she think I was her boyfriend, back for an encore of that enthralling conversation? Can't ask her now. Hey! Yeah, you that? These old pieces are so goddamn loud. And people aren't even familiar enough with the sound anymore to know to run the other way. Probably rouse half the neighborhood. But I didn't see anything I could use as even a partial suppressor on the way in. Did they really not afford some throw pillows? I used the other 5 bullets in outdoor spaces and small spheres of blind opportunity that the city's eyes couldn't think to pierce. Cramped places, usually full of trash. But this room, as cheap as it looks, is at least clean, organized even. So the corpse adds a certain satisfying contrast. Except, there's shit on the floor. By the western window, there are broken pieces of something fragile and tacky. It's fine. It's just one thing out of place. Actually, it's not fine. It's actually really irritating. I kick over the stupid goddamn mirror. 5 perfect crime scenes. Each of them, not a speck of evidence. Nothing to go on. And for the final shot, there's gotta be a goddamn pile of crap on the corner ruining everything. I kick the wall. Something falls from it. Probably more tasteless bullshit. I toss over the chair, knock the urn, tear into the sheets with my frustration, and try to savor the shredding. If it can't be clean, I'll just have to lean to the messy angle. At least it'll be consistent. This was all so stupid. I'm not the bragging type, but even I felt satisfied when the first 3 went down with single shots. After that, I did start to actively aim for the heart, but Heartbreak Killer? Really? No. That was someone else's name. They came up with it. They spread it. They marketed it. Besides, Heartbreak is a reclusive, socially impotent loser who shot 6 people because... Well, I'm sure the press will come up with something. That he got rejected one too many times or whatever. Me? I killed those people because I saw them and I wanted to. And I've killed a lot more than just 6. At least, the room is suitably tossed now. It took me a few moments, but if I just walked away after seeing that mess by the window, it would have irritated me to no end. Ill riddance, Heartbreak. You have far more trouble than you are worth. You enjoy your 50 minutes? I'm going home. The air is weighty tonight, thick, energized. A heavily foreshadowed summer rain I can feel on every hair. They call this kind of humidity oppressive, but I disagree. The warm tension on your skin, like in those short moments just after the shower turns off, when the steam lingers. Yeah, it's always most comfortable right afterwards. Maybe there's no disagreement to be had. Oppressive things can be comforting too. Sirens. Only the guilty ones run. I don't know about that, but I know I've never felt guilty about any of this. For me, I walk. 5:00 a.m., June 5th, 2086. Okay. I mean, so she was the killer the entire time? Because I was in disbelief. I wasn't sure if this was real. Like maybe she was just imagining the crime scene, you know? Maybe she was just simply like trying to recreate the crime scene so that she could like catch the killer or something. Like maybe she has a more of a like, you know, deeper connection. I didn't expect her to be the actual killer. I don't know if that was real. I don't even know anymore. I don't know. Anyway, we're back here though. He's just signing some paperwork, I guess. Sorry, using my left is still... That's okay. You can just initial in those spots. I took a scenic route home and got in a bit after 11. Had myself a thorough shower, drank some water, did some stretching. Made sure my phone was on. Time went by evenly. Around 1:40 a.m., a posting for a public defender work came up. Decent rate, since it was so late and so urgent. I wagered correctly that the boyfriend would have enough sense to ask for a lawyer, and enough debt that he'd need to be provided one. All I had to do was stay awake. There wasn't much competition after 1 in the morning. Okay, where else? Here and here. It would have been easy to convince Carlos to plead out, or just screw up his defense so badly he ended up going down for the Heartbreak killings anyway. But easy is dangerous. Carlos was, of course, innocent, so his conviction would never be airtight. There would be doubts, questions, appeals, maybe even fans, depending on his looks. More attention on HK and his crimes, more headaches. A cold case, rotting in the very far back of the public's awareness, is always preferable to one open and shut in haste. Now, with no more murders matching HK's MO, there won't be any additional public pressure to find a culprit. Now Heartbreak can just starve to death, out of sight and mind like any other fluke in the system. Almost done. Getting involved in the case this intimately had its risks, but it was worth it for the peace of mind, the finality. Seeing the authorities' failings from the best seat in the house was just a bonus. Oh, thanks again, Morgan, for everything. I'm sure Diane is grateful too. Ha ha ha. Dramatic irony. Is Morgan even her real name? I think it's a fake name. Funny. I didn't even know her name. 5:30 a.m., June 5th, 2086. Alrighty. No more victims to be found, no more suspects to pursue. No more loose ends of any importance. All that's left now is for me to deal with. Hold it, Counselor Morgan. Nani? Her. District Attorney Rockford. Sorry, can I try that again? I'm so goddamn fried. Of course. Can Council Morgan, morning, noon, or night, you're always so put together. Like you're always gotten out 11 hours of sleep the night before, of time for naps. God, I must have bags in my eyes dark enough for dumpster diving. Emma Rockford. She's a district attorney, a prosecutor who works for the city. And despite her sometimes unkempt appearance, she's probably the sharpest person to fill the position in decades. We've been in each other's respective orbit for a few months now. In that time, we've negotiated, debated, and argued against each other in court. Okay, well, I mean, I guess Morgan... I mean, it has to be her real name in that case, because she's been doing this for a while, you know. She wasn't just an opportunistic, public defender. She's been a lawyer for a while, it seems like. She has the remarkable ability to compartmentalize all that adversarial energy and only bring it out in the courtroom. It's part of what makes her good at her job. And hard for me to read. What have they got you doing at this hour, then? Actually, I'm here for you. Me? Your client was a suspect in the Heartbreak killings. That's my case. Well, then you must have been relieved, finding out that you won't have to go to trial against me. No? Why would I be worried about going up against you? It's always the unintended bars of her. So you're working with those detectives? Yeah, London and the new girl, Reyes. They've been reporting directly to me in preparation for the trial. Preparation for trial? That seems ambitious. I guess they gave you the rundown. Yeah, okay, it's been rough going. It's hard to catch a killer who leaves behind so little. It's hard to kill while leaving so little for you to find. So Reyes told you they had HK in custody and you popped out of bed all excited to run down here? Hardly. I haven't been asleep in over 30 hours. Too much on my mind. So when I heard about the case with a single female victim shot to the heart, yeah, my ears perked up. And then I glanced at the report. Carlos Flat is no serial killer. He's definitely not HK. She means it. No middle name. No gunpowder residue on him. Too remorseful. Too apologetic in that note, whatever it was about. His dominant arm modded with documented sensitivity issues. Never could have made shots that clean, although getting close enough to leave scorch marks. On top of which, too tall for the ballistics entry angles and too heavy to not leave imprints. He got all that from a glance. But of course, I'm sure a competent lawyer like yourself pointed all that out the moment you walked in here. Of course. Worst part is, she's not even being sarcastic. Yeah, of course it couldn't have been him. Long-term relationship, no trouble holding jobs in the past. Physically imposing, argumentative, so not the type to bottle things up. He didn't match the profile. Profile? Right, sorry. You probably never heard of it. I know what a goddamn profile is. A profile is a reconstruction of a criminal psychology based on evidence from other crimes. Okay. Search results for trying to get your dating profile just right can be a full-time job. Let Valentine take the reign with our automated, secure, and confidential tools that put your better-than-best foot forward and put the sexy back in finding the right match. Okay, so that is very, this is the wrong search result. This is not the search results that I want. No. It's funny how, this interesting, dictionary mechanic of the game is sometimes just used to troll the player. But anyway. But yeah, based on the criminal psychology, all in our fashion of last few decades, if you can imagine. I had to find some real fossils and oddballs to get advice on how to go about it. It's some kind of investigative tool. The theory is that a crime can tell you something about the nature of the person who committed it. Stabbing, overkill, points to rage, lust. They probably knew the victim. Poison and guns, meanwhile, suggest they can't physically overpower others. And then there's things you can assume about nearly all serial offenders. Childhood trauma, prior criminal record, few or no meaningful attachments. There's a whole lot of recurring themes in their stories. And what a sort of story you're spinning for HK? That's not a happy one. HK is diligent, almost perfect. But that absence of evidence actually tells us a lot about our killer. Even if it's hard to say what he is like exactly, it's easy to tell that he isn't like Carlos Flat. How so? Getting away with murder like this takes more than just planning. HK must be highly intelligent, painstakingly organized, and affluent or connected enough to get their hands on an untagged firearm. Probably a lone wolf, educated. They feel overqualified or undervalued, and considering their marksmanship, the detectives did mention that HK would need insider information on optics. So does that mean Heartbreak's in law enforcement? Heartbreak is a misnomer, and law enforcement? Frankly, I doubt it. Oh. It's too visible an occupation, with too thorough an application process. They could charm their way through any given conversation, but they can't fool everyone all the time, right? It would be difficult lying to cops all the time. Maybe a secondary or tertiary relation to the police? They can't help but insert themselves. What the hell is that phrasing? Wait, but if they're not a cop, how do they know about the blackout timing? Crime meta-statistics analysis, probably. Pardon. Take the police response times from across the city and map them out. Look for brief spikes and delays. Chart the dips in... Sorry, technical, I know. But all the requisite data is publicly available. Anyone could do it if they wanted to. That's such an unpleasant thought. Whoever they are, they're not vain, unfortunately. Few could resist the chance to gloat to the police or the media about getting away with murder 6 times in a row. Yeah, a whole 6 times. Mind-blowing. You won't find them standing out in the crowd. They're a blank slate, chameleon. Superficially charming with no substance to back it up. A terminal mask swapper. It's rare to see her this animated outside the courtroom. It's almost like she's enjoying herself. Their crimes have no sadism, there's no remorse either. The bodies were just left there on the ground, like they weren't even worth anything anymore. Your words, not mine. All of which is to say, they're not easy to categorize, and they're no traditional psychopath. Psychopath, really? What year is this? Person with a low social empathy inventory score if you prefer. Hey, if you want to diagnose your killer with hysteria while you're at it, go right ahead. Maybe I will. Parts of this are based in some pretty old-fashioned thinking, and I'm sure it can sound like I'm just guessing. But the one thing I do know, that these aren't his only kills. Were there other shootings with the same MO? Other victims that look similar? No, not that I found. It's just... no one can kill like that when it's their first time. Getting things that perfect takes practice. And I'm afraid that this person has had a lot of practice, Morgan. That's why I said Heartbreak is a misnomer. You got something catchier in mind. Truth is, I think shooting them in the heart is just a testament to their accuracy and their efficiency. The best possible use of 6 untagged bullets. The real signature isn't the bullets or the gun, it's the perfection. That's hard to wrap your head around. I'm saying that these 6 murders was just a fluke, a slip-up, a mistake. Exactly, a mistake. They got too clean, too efficient, and now they got the public's attention. Must be the worst kind of mistake for someone with no ego to speak of. No ego? How's that? Yeah, they must be a real Buddha. Oh, a real devil. Okay, that rant was pretty morbid and detailed. I need to get out more. I'm always happy to listen to you ramble about something or other. It's a lot more pleasant than having to face you in the courtroom. Sorry, but that's the adversarial process. So no hard feelings, yeah? No hard feelings. We're both just doing what we do. I could use a cup of coffee, how about you? Don't tempt me. You can fall asleep face first on the table and I won't even take a picture. Okay. Just don't expect this to make a difference next time we're at each other's throats. HK won't claim any more victims. Before the week's through, the media will have moved on to the next sensation, and the police will have moved on to cases they actually stand a chance of closing. It's what people do. But Emma is different. She'll set it aside and work a dozen other cases, never bring it up again. But the private corner of that frustratingly sharp mind of hers will continue to whittle away at it, never finishing, but never quitting either. So I can't afford to take my eyes off of her. As long as that's the case, I might as well try to enjoy the view. Prologue end. Okay. I think that's it. That's the game. Oh, a little bit more. So you're going to be living with my friend for a while. Okay. Android? Android waifu? For how long? I'm sorry, I don't know. There's no need to look that upset over it. My face barely moved. Well, it may as well have been a blatant pout to me. This friend of yours, the trustworthy? Absolutely. In fact, I trust him more than anyone. Hey, come on, it'll be fun. Really? Really. Educational, too. I think you stand to learn a lot from someone like Morgan. Okay. To be continued in Chapter 1. And I don't mind. Okay, that's the game. Here's the credits. Here's the actual names, by the way. I feel like, yeah, when we look on the itchio page, they don't have like a studio name, so. Or at least the studio name is just the game's name, so Off the Devil. Art. I like the art. Art is really good, I feel like. I like the eyes, you know. And I know why now, why Morgan's eyes look like really dead sometimes when she's monologuing. Now I know why, because she's a freaking serial killer. Freaking like, it's like it's as if Phoenix Wright, you know, was like the villain the entire time. That's a crazy twist, I gotta say. Return to main menu, okay? The power icon? Oop. Sure, why not? Let's go back to the main menu. Alright. Oh, and there's actually more options, isn't it? Anyway. Alright, there you go. That's the game. So basically, that's the prologue of the game. You know, I don't usually like to play demos because they tend to be unfinished. But, you know, this in itself was kind of like its own little story. So I think it was still kind of interesting to go through. And I don't regret it, actually. It was like really interesting. You know, I definitely did like the whole, you know, world building. I like the, obviously the mystery and everything. The Phoenix Wright style, you know, kind of like, you know, like figure things out and everything. But the twist is definitely interesting as well. Though I don't know how they're gonna like continue it, because if she's the serial killer and that's kind of been revealed, how are you gonna like continue the story from there? You know, if you already know she's kind of like the bad guy, like do we continue playing as her? I'm assuming not, maybe. You know, I mean, just like if Phoenix Wright, usually the prologue is you're playing as someone else, you know, so maybe we play as a different character, you know, in chapter 1, in the actual beginning of the full game, and then, you know, you eventually catch her, you eventually catch Morgan, and, you know, finally send her to prison or whatever. That, I mean, I'm assuming that's the direction the game's gonna go, because otherwise, if you continue playing as Morgan, I really do feel like, you know, I don't know if players would really sympathize playing as a serial killer when you know that she's a serial killer. So, I don't know. So again, I mean, interesting idea, but like usually when you play as the villain, you know, that's kind of it. You know, once you've found out the twist that they're the bad guys, kind of like there's not much else to explore. You know, because otherwise, I guess we could just continue being horrible, I guess, and kill people. But like that's not very interesting, right? So I don't know. But definitely the story itself, though, and the twist was definitely, like, just by itself, was a really cool way to explore the character, I feel like. Like, I did not know, I did not expect that at all. I did not expect the fact that she would be the actual, you know, real killer, right? So that was a really cool twist. Yeah, other than that, I mean, obviously, yeah, the writing is good. I really was engrossed in the characters and everything. I wonder if we'll meet more of them in the full game. And I'm trying to think. Sound effects are kind of interesting. I don't know. I feel like the sound effects are okay. I wish there was more oomph to it as well. You know, I've noticed they try to do like Ace Attorney like sound effects or whatever, but I feel like the animation needs to like complement it as well. You know, when there's ever like a slap sound effect, you know, I feel like it kind of comes out of nowhere. I feel like there needs to be some kind of effect or something. It could be, well, it depends. You can do it a different number of ways, but you could do like a manga kind of thing, you know, how, you know, like in JoJo, you know, it's like just like literally like comic style sound effects that appear in the animation. So kind of like that, or maybe like do some kind of animation, or you shake the screen a little. I don't know, it depends. Some people I feel like don't like when the screen shake. I don't know. But it depends, I guess. Depends on what you want to do. But try to make it a more, in my opinion anyway, trying to match the sound effects with the actual animation. You know, I mean, even the most like infamous, or not infamous, rather just famous sound effect is objection, right? Whenever Phoenix Wright yells objection, a little thing pops up, you know, objection, you know, that's very impactful. I feel like very reminiscent of, you know, Phoenix Wright. But I guess, you know, you don't have to do that exactly, but you know, something to complement the sound effect would be kind of nice. And I think there's some ambience as well. You know, I feel like that's kind of missing as well. I wish there was more like music. You know, I mean. I'll probably have to do some editing for YouTube. And for one, I think the game sounds like very low. I think it's a maximum, but even then, it's like really low. I think I'll probably have to like fix that when I edit on YouTube. But I do feel like the music is kind of, it's okay, but there was nothing that stood out to me, you know? Especially for cyberpunk, I really do feel like in a cyberpunk world, you're gonna need I don't know, you're gonna need some beats, you know, you're gonna need some cool beats. You're gonna need some like synth music, you know, synth wave. You gotta step it up a little bit, you know, especially for like a game where it's gonna be a lot of reading. You need to make it engaging, you know, by making making the music fit the mood. You know, it's mostly okay. It's just like most of the music, I feel, at least what I've heard anyway, it's mostly just ambience. It's mostly just kind of like in the background, you know. I mean, I think there was one music that I've noticed. It was at the very end, where it's like, you know, we've won, I guess, the victory music technically, where Carlos was released and everything before we learned that Morgan was the killer. I think that was kind of a nice little victory song. But other than that, you know, I wish there was more like, you know, pumping music that really gets you like really invested in the story. And in the mood, you know, get immersed, you know. I wish there was more of that. Now, obviously, you know, I guess that would take more time, more effort, you know, maybe more of a budget, you know, to hire an actual, like, musician. I don't know, but I would definitely add the game, I would feel like, anyway. But other than that, I feel like I have no complaint. I mean, any like, fumbling would be, like, you know, there's the moments where I got stuck a few times, like, 2 times, I didn't really understand what the game was asking me, but because there's no like real fail state, I guess it's not really that big of a deal. I do wonder if in the full game will they add like a mechanic, you know, where you can actually lose. I don't know. It would be interesting. It would make it more of a game, you know, but it can also be frustrating. But it depends. If you're gonna add a mechanic where you could get a game over, in that case, maybe add a little hint system, you know. It'd be interesting too, you know, so to make it so like, you know, it isn't too frustrating. But I don't know. But the number one thing I would add though, like if I would add anything, it would definitely be like some way to like pull up like the evidence list. Now, that'd be good, you know, like a court record in Ace Attorney, basically. Because whenever those times when they're asking like a thing for like a prompt, you know, to like answer like a question or whatever, I do want some kind of like thing, you know, some kind of like cheat sheet, you know, to look at like the evidence that we have already and just go through them so I know what the context is, you know, what the details are, because might not remember every single detail, you know. But I guess, you know, that's kind of part of the game too, to like remember the details. Anyway, it would be nice though, just to have just for the player, UI wise. Yeah, I mean, other than that, yep, it's a really good little like prologue. I mean, again, in and of itself, it's still like I feel like still kind of like a story in and of itself, really, beginning, middle, and end. So you could just you could have just enjoyed this as it is. But I do believe there is going to be like a full game that continues the story, and I guess we'll see where it goes, you know? It's doing that thing, though, which I kind of don't like, which, you know, it's very subjective, but they're doing the thing where they're going to release it, like, per chapter, you know? All I'm saying is that a lot of developers kind of do that, and, like, what really irks me is when they do, like, a chapter, and then they don't finish the game. They do it per chapter, second chapter, and then they just don't finish it. It's kind of like, it's annoying when they do that. But anyway, I don't know, it depends. But I am definitely very much interested in following, you know, the series and, you know, see if the full game will come out, because I'm very invested and I really want to see, you know, where it goes. But yeah, definitely like a game up my alley. So I will be waiting with bated breath. I don't know how long it's going to take. You know, these games, they take a while, you know. So, for now, I guess all we have is the prologue to enjoy. But anyway. So there you go. But yeah. So that's it for Of the Devil. I guess if you're on YouTube, you didn't know, I stream these games live on Twitch, so check me out over there if you're interested. I also have other playthroughs and channels, you can look for those if you want. Thanks for watching. Until next time, see you then.